him.
I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Schmack on my gob, everybody. Hey, it's time for the only news that matters. And Brave Words caught up with legendary Judas Priest guitarist KK Downing, not ex-Judas Priest guitarist. He will always beat Judas Priest guitarist to me. Anyway, KK Downing recently and chatted about the recent 50th anniversary release of the band's debut album, Rock'n'Rolla. And during the conversation that aired on Streaming for Vengeance, when asked what Judas Priest album do people talk to you the most about? And KK said, probably Painkiller. Brave Word said, there's two key moments in heavy metal history where a band brought in a new drummer and the album will kick off with a classic drum beat. Now, that's what Brave Words say. I say there's three key moments in heavy metal when a band brought in a drummer and the album would kick off with a drummer, and that would be Killing Field from Paul Bostoff when he joined Slayer on Divine Intervention. I have to put that up there. And I'm not the biggest Divine Intervention fan, but I dig that intro. But I think the best intro of the three, if you ask me, is Nico McBrain with Eagles Will Dare. Where Eagles Dare? Eagles Will Dare. Anyway, and so yeah, there's three moments. It's where Eagles Dare, on Peace of Mind, Painkiller, Scott Travis when he replaced Dave Holland, and Killing Field. All right. Anyway, so KK says, I think with the Painkiller album, I've got to say that people don't realize this, but that album was not as successful as we would have liked it to have been. Straight away, you know, there's a lot of things that happened about that time, you know, wasn't it? And there was a lot of things going on. I think Painkiller was probably a bit of a stretch for a lot of traditional Priest fans, you know, whether I think it might have been a step forward toward the heavier side of metal for a lot of fans, but there were a lot of things that weren't happening at that time, because I know we went out there and we took out Pantera and we were just playing small clubs at the time. Nobody knew who they were. But then there was a transitional period in metal that was between Painkiller and everything else. Pantera and Megadeth and so many other bands, you know, so-called new metal. So I think it might have been a touch too much for a lot of traditional Priest fans. But as time went on, they realized that Painkiller, compared to a lot of other bands, wasn't as edgy, you know what I mean? There were so many new metal coming out, death metal, speed metal, industrial metal, so many alternative metal styles that made Painkiller almost seem a touch too light for a lot of the new metal fans. But as time went on, obviously Painkiller, the album, became very much revered as a groundbreaker. We always say when we release an album, chances are 9 times out of 10 that it's going to be a bit too soon or a bit too late. It's very rare that you get the timing for a record exactly right. And when Judas Priest get a record that was exactly right for the time, well, maybe British Steel. Well, Brave Words then said, or this one, holding up Screaming for Vengeance, and Downing said, maybe. You're absolutely right. I think Screaming for Vengeance may have been another, this is the right time, this is the right record, because that was the band's biggest selling record. All right, so Brave Words then said, now you're talking to a fan that's based in Southern Ontario. And I was at the August 19th Grandstand show called Operation Rock and Roll, which also featured Alice Cooper, Motorhead, Dangerous Toys, and Metal Church. And when Rob rode out on his Harley, it was knocked off by a piece of the low-hanging stage prop. He broke his nose and then left the band. What are your memories of that night, or do you want to even think about it? And he said, that was a horrible moment, really. For the fans that didn't know, it was a big outdoor venue. And from the stage to the dressing room, it was a car ride. It started off in the first car was Rob and I forgot who else, and then the rest of us. And well, we couldn't find the car keys to start off. And we were, late getting to the stage. So, we got to go, and they started the intro tape where we were still driving to the stage, and of course, we didn't get to the stage in time because a set of stairs in the middle of the stage would kind of rise up, and then Rob with his motorcycle, rode his motorcycle onto the stage, and the stairs didn't go high enough, and Rob drove right into it and collided with the stairs and knocked him out. By the time we got on our guitars and we went on the stage, that there was dry ice and smoke, and we didn't know Rob was on the stage because he was flat out. So we played the first song without vocals. And he says it was a absolute Spinal Tap moment. To Rob's credit, he just picked himself up and dusted himself off and performed. And that was the last gig for 14 years with Rob and Judas Priest. Yeah, so Judas Priest's 50th anniversary remix remastered edition of Rock-A-Rolla is available digitally in the US and Canada. And the CD and vinyl are also available. That I bought, you can see here, it came with that bottle opener there. And let me tell you, when I played Rock-A-Rolla, this version, it sounded like a completely different album. It was totally different. The songs, they're structured different. It's just different. But also, extremely awesome. It didn't offend me. I got a really cool Rock-A-Rolla anyway I've had all through the years. The original version and that other cover with the guy with the missiles and stuff, the demon, whatever, I got all that, man. And I got to say, man, ever since I got this a few months back, I've been playing it like crazy. I haven't played the old ones in a while. I will, though, because I love those as well. I have grown to really, really love Rock-A-Rolla through the years. I never disliked it. I've always liked it, but as years go by, I love it even more and more. And then I hear this new version, and I'm like, man, this is great stuff. Sure, Judas Priest became Judas Priest on the next album. That's for sure. Yeah, Sad Wings of Destiny for me is really the first Judas Priest album. But, man, Rock-A-Rolla rules. I love it. I love all 70s Priest. That's my favorite Judas Priest, from Rock-A-Rolla to Unleashed in the East. But I love a lot of the 80s stuff. And, Painkiller, I'm not the biggest fan of Painkiller, but I think the song Painkiller is one of the greatest Judas Priest songs ever. I like All Guns Blazing, Nightcrawler, and the rest is like, whatever, But a lot of people love it. A lot of people put it high, and that's fine. But I do remember at the time, KK saying it didn't become as big as we expected. I remember that album coming out and me thinking this is going to sell millions. And I remember it didn't do that well. Yeah, I was kind of shocked. I was pretty shocked because it was, let me tell you, man, if that would have came out instead of Turbo, holy crap. It would have been amazingly huge. I don't care what any of you Turbo fans say. Painkiller would have been a better album to come out after Defenders. But, it's very one-dimensional. And that's what I love about Judas Priest is all their albums have twists and turns, and Painkiller doesn't. And I think that's what bothers me the most about it. But I don't hate it. I feel it's not one of their best, and a lot of people feel it is their best. But yeah, and then Rob Halford leaving, that was a dark time in the 90s. Look, I'm not bashing Fight. I own both Fight albums. And I like them, but it's not genuine to me. Rob is trying to be Phil Anselmo. It's so obvious, and especially on stage. Man, if you want to see, and I was front row for this, and it is up on YouTube. It's kind of embarrassing looking at it now. But I saw Metallica in 1994, and Fight opened. And during the encore, they played Rapid Fire. I'm all the way up front seeing this. It was mind-blowing. Great performance from Rob, and the band, Metallica, played it well. But the way Rob was acting, man, he looked like, you know, kind of like a cross between Phil Anselmo and a gangster rapper, you know, doing these, it was just so disingenuine, you know, and as much as I love War of Words, it was very, they were trying to do the Pantera thing, and then the next album, which I really liked, The Small Deadly Space, they went all over the place. They didn't know where to go, because, you know, and that one didn't, I mean, shit, War of Words didn't do well, and then that did even worse, and then he did the 2 thing, and that I couldn't get into at all. And then Resurrection and Crucible, both of those, masterpieces. They're both. Crucible is extremely underrated. The people that love, you know, Resurrection, man, I know Crucible is a little different, but it's just as heavy, and in some cases even heavier. I love them both, man. I didn't like that Made of Metal and the Christmas stuff. But that, and then Judas Priest. I know a lot of you like Jugulator, and some of you like Demolition. I wasn't a fan of either of that. The best thing I liked from Judas Priest with Ripper were the live albums. He fucking nailed those old songs. Killed it. Killed it. My favorite version of Diamonds and Rust is from Metal Meltdown 98, I think it's called. That's my favorite version of Diamonds and Rust. It's just amazing. He does it better than Halford, you know? But they're both, and Live in London, they're both live, amazing live albums. But they needed to get back together. And Angel Retribution is one of my favorite. I put it above Painkiller, that fucking reunion album. Unbelievably awesome. But I know a lot of people don't share my opinion. Hell, I even love Nostradamus. How do you like those apples? Anyway, I know many of you don't, and let me know what you feel about Judas Priest without Rob, what Rob was doing without Priest, and vice versa. Leave it in the comments below. All comments are welcome. Just be respectful, or I'll send you to the cornfield, Twilight Zone style. Right on, everybody. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Ring that little notification bell and like the video. It's good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty. Listen to Black Sabbath and smack 'em a cob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston, and so never more shall we see you again.